Hi.
Hello.
Very nice to be here. I'm at Andreessen Horowitz offices with Marin Casado.
That's right.
General partner at Andreessen Horowitz.
Yes.
And thank you so much for having this discussion between us. So I want to ask you, as you've been an investor in the DevOps market and you have some very good companies such as RapidAPI and Kong that you made an investment in.
Yeah.
So first, the DevOps market is a very, I would say, relatively new market.
Yeah.
Right? It's a very ever developing, changing, evolving,
Yep.
and in a very rapid pace. So I found that it's a little bit more difficult to invest in such a market that is so dynamic.
Yeah.
Do you feel that the same? And do you think that maybe the failure rate of these investments is higher than in other markets because of that?
So to me, DevOps is, instead of actually operators doing something, you've got developers doing it, right? So in the past, you'd have a system administrator stand up a machine, or you'd have them configure something. DevOps means you can actually have software do these things. And we've seen like a number of very interesting companies in the DevOps space, right? Terraform is a very obvious one. But that is software going after operations. Now, does APIs align with that? Yes and no, right? So this is the way that I think about APIs. So as markets get larger, the unit at which you can monetize gets smaller, right? So the classic example is like, Ford Motors. Like back in 1913 in the Ford Rouge River complex where they would make Ford cars, there was a building where in would go rubber and iron ore and water, and out would come cars. The entire, it did everything in there because there was only a market for a few hundred cars. And now, there are companies that just will sell the bolt or a window or a seat cover or something like that. So for me, so there's DevOps, which is operations, but another broad trend which is very interesting, which both with RapidAPI sits in, is the application is exploding. And so independent pieces of applications now we can monetize, right? So before you had to sell Salesforce, so you had to sell the entire application. Now you can just sell the authorization piece, or you can sell the policy piece, or you can sell the speech to text, or whatever. And so what we're seeing is what used to be one application now become these independent pieces. And so I think if we view with a critical eye what's going on in the industry and we track those changes, I think they're very real trends. And yes, you may lose your money, but I think in general it's a great place to deploy money.
If you look at this market, the DevOps market in general, DevOps or software for developers or anything that you can, including API, what would be the areas that would be most interesting for a VC in the next, few years, decade to invest in, as per your opinion?
So one trend I believe very strongly in is the delamination of an application, or the app is exploding and independent pieces of it we can monetize. And so I'm not sure, do you remember there was this very famous investor deck where it showed Craigslist and it showed all the things on Craigslist and this became this company, this became this company, this became this company. I think you could do the same thing with an application. You have an application, what do applications do, right? Well, they have UIs and they take input and they do real-time video and they do video streaming and they do SMS and they do all of these things. I think you can take out the functional components. So take an app, build a block diagram, build the functional components of it, and I think every one of those components has the potential of being a standalone business. I really do,
wow.
And I think it's a very powerful way to think about this. And we've seen many examples. Think about SendGrid and Twilio and PubNub and Stripe and Okta. In every one of these cases, these things that were part of an app that are now kind of these independent companies. And so I think there are many very interesting trends, and we can talk about more of them. But I do like personally thinking of this generalization of what used to be one monolithic app is now an aggregation of businesses. So let's find kind of the next functional blocks that are useful.